Well, first of all, I like to say after 43 years as the head football coach of the Floyd County Buffaloes, 50 years of coaching and teaching, today we got the word that you, sir, a legend in these parts, decided to hang it up, the head coach of the Floyd County Buffaloes. And Coach Beale, I got to ask you first of all, what went into the decision to say, "Hey, I'm hanging it up after 43 years as a head football coach at Floyd County"?
It was a long, hard decision, to be honest with you. You know, it's always bittersweet when you have to do something like this, but just considering how blessed I am and just feeling like, well, maybe it's time for some new blood, some new energy, and new leadership in the program. It wasn't any one particular thing, but just sort of, well, maybe it's time. You know, you always say one more year, but I just think now is probably the time.
Good deal. And it's funny. It was like a running joke every year. I'd ask you during our media days, "Hey, when is it time? When is it time?" And you said, "Well, we're gonna keep going and going," and you decided that, Coach. I mean, we're talking about a half a century of coaching. 43 years as a head football coach, but a half a century overall coaching. I don't think I ever asked you this, but what made you want to get into coaching?
Uh, when I was in college, I originally was a biology major and planned to be a doctor, but then the further I went in college and I thought about basically my own high school coaches and people that mentored me and when I was growing up, my father died when I was 13. So a lot of the real role models in my life were my high school coaches, and they had such a positive impact. And a few of them sort of suggested, "Why don't you give it a try?" And that's one thing led to another, and that's 50 years later, and I'm still involved in it.
For those who probably don't know, like where did you go to high school and then where did you go to college?
Um, I'm actually an old homeboy. I graduated from Floyd County High School in 1970, attended American University in Washington, D.C., uh, on a track scholarship in the 1970 through 74, and then sort of gravitated back this way.
And then also you went to Virginia Tech too.
Yeah, got my master's degree in 1993 from Virginia Tech. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we don't want to leave that out. Talk about, like I said, talk about some of the high school coaches that influenced you, obviously growing up and even throughout your time before you became a head coach at Floyd County.
uh, Probably, without a doubt, my greatest mentor was Norman Lindenberg at Radford High School. Norman took me under his wings when I was an assistant coach in 1974, and we've just had an amazing relationship from that point on. You know, back pre technology, when you had to pick up a regular phone, he was the guy that I always picked the phone up to call for advice. And, we would chat with each other throughout the season and off season. And, we just became family. I mean, him and his family are like family to me. And, I worked under three great coaches: Buddy Shule, who went on to be an assistant at Radford, and Dan Surface, and of course Jeff Heifel was my predecessor. He was here at Floyd 2 years before I took over, and learned a little bit from all of them. But Norman was my man.
I hear that. You know, so take me back to 1981. I mean, when you got the opportunity to become the head football coach at Floyd County. Just talk about what was going through your mind at that moment. What were some of your thoughts about that? Because obviously, your first head football coaching job, I'm sure that was a big moment for you.
It really was, and it was a little excitement and a lot of nervousness and apprehension. you have that. Am I really ready for this? And of course, you're not ever really ready for it. It's one of coaching, like most things. Uh, you learn more after you get the job than you did before you got the job, and been a growing experience. But um, I wanted to stick my name in the hat and didn't know what would happen, but I was blessed. Dennis Simonis and was a principal here, and he had a lot of confidence in him and said, "We're going to give you this job," and I'm most grateful to Dennis and for that opportunity.
When you first took the job, how long did you think you would be doing it?
And you're going to think I'm lying, but I thought, well, maybe 5 to 10 years, And when I originally got into teaching, I said, well, I'm going to stay in Florida for about 5 years and then go on and do something else. And that's 50 years later, and I'm still here.
How do you feel football has changed from the time you started coaching, and you can even go back to when you were an assistant to where it is today?
Um, the players themselves really haven't changed a lot. The technology, the strength and conditioning programs, the social media, all of the things that weren't there 40 years ago that are there now have changed. But, it's still in a small school like Floyd's, a game where average kid can still play and still have some success and still grow and learn and be a part of something special. Uh, the players really haven't changed, but all the intangibles around the game have changed unbelievably.
And then when you look at from a track and field, I mean, you were not only, I mean, you taught. Most of your coaches aren't necessarily biology teachers, so you talk about teaching a hard subject. You taught that, and then also the fact you were a track coach. I mean, how did you manage the time management? Because I mean, it's one thing to be a football coach, but you also coach track and then to teach biology. I mean, how did you juggle all those balls over those years? I mean, you just it was this time last year you retired from teaching.
Yeah, I actually retired in December 21, so it's 2 years out of the classroom. But Jermaine, to be honest, I don't know how I did it. I guess I just didn't have a life. I got up, went to work, came home, and unwound and had a little supper and back at it again. But nobody was forcing me to do it. It was something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and the work became a big part of life. It's more of a passion than a job. If you get where I'm coming from.
So my apologies, 2021. I'm sorry. I
No,
said
no, it was
2022.
on the release that they gave out
Yeah, that's what stayed in my brain.
2022, but it was actually, this will be my second year out of the classroom.
Wow,
I'm
but
not
still, I
correcting
mean,
you now.
that's still a lot, though. I mean, even then.
Yeah.
Now, just talk about the impact because you've impact. I mean, you're talking about 50 years of impacting young people. Uh, for you personally, what's it like to help young people and to guide them? To turn young men and women to young men and women into adults and functioning the way they are now.
Uh, it's by far the most rewarding part of the job, more so than the wins and losses. Every football coach wants to win every football game, but God has blessed me to have some amazing relationships with players and their families. And I think I told you earlier, it's nothing more important than to be invited to a wedding of one of your former players or some major event in their lives that they want you around to help celebrate. I just feel blessed for those opportunities that the relationships far outweigh the numbers. I just been blessed to be around a lot of good people, both, like you said, both in track and in football, in the classroom.
So when next fall hits, First of all, it's going to be sad that I won't be able to have you media. But here's the thing: you have an open invitation to come to the Friday Night Blitz Media Day. So if you want to come up here, you can. I'm not going
Uh,
to say just because you're not coaching over here, you can't come up here. But you said you're still going to be close to the program and help out who your successor is going to be. And I'm not going to ask for names on who you feel should get the job or anything because that's not the function. But what would you look for? What would you hope for in your successor? Or what was the biggest piece of advice you would give to your successor when they come in?
uh, the biggest advice is put the kids first, have their interests above everything else, above the wins and the losses. And, I just want Floyd football to continue to be on the map here in Southwest Virginia, and that uh, I want to try to reach out to our community to see if they can do some things to help it continue to grow and help support it through whatever means, financially or just um, being filling up the stands every Friday night and making it a great football atmosphere. Like you've always said, it's nothing like football on Friday night in Southwest Virginia in the Roanoke Valley, and I know that makes your job so much fun to get in some of these local high school atmospheres and so forth.
And it's definitely fun with that. I guess I got to ask you this sort of a personal question. Do you have any regrets in your career?
Uh, I don't know if you'd say regrets, but always wish, well, maybe I should have done this instead of that, that type of thing. Or, you look back, I guess hindsight's always 2020, but um, no major regrets.
And then obviously, when you look at your career as a whole, you led the girls track team to a runner-up finish. You led the boys track team to a state championship. You led the football program to three runner-ups, and you've been in the mix year in and year out. So what are you going to do in the Fridays in the fall next year? Like what are because I know it's going to still be in your blood a little bit, but what are you going to do on those Fridays in the fall where you're not going to be on the sideline or during spring practice or fall or summer practice? What is Winfred Beale going to be doing on Friday nights in the fall?
Uh, you know, I, our plans, hopefully like it, the typical answer to do some traveling and get out to see family and friends across the country. But probably in the fall, I'll be at a football game somewhere, whether it's a Floyd County High School football. I mean, um, I just think it's nothing better than high school football. I enjoy college. I enjoy watching pro games, but for me, the ultimate level of football is high school football. It's where kids can still play the game for the fun of the game, uh, even though that like anything, they work all year long for 10 opportunities. I think sometimes people don't realize how hard coaches and players work for basically 10 chances to do something that you really love.
Circling back real quick to the announcement, what was the reaction from the administration and your team? Because I'm sure you obviously let them know before it came to us.
Oh, I have some of the greatest players and assistant coaches that you could ever ask for. And it was all just gratitude and thank you, Coach Beale, for what you've done. And I'm sure you'd imagine my phone's been blowing up with text messages and things from former players and um, coaches that I've coached against and just all of that. And the administration has been so grateful. They said, well, you can do it on your own time. I've never been under any pressure to, give it up or anything like that, but just gratitude to our administration and school board.
Obviously, the field's named after you. You have the lasting legacy of when people think of Virginia Tech football, they think of Frank Beamer. When they think of maybe Radford High School football, they think of Norm Lindenberg, obviously. But when we think of Floyd County Buffaloes football, we do think of Winfred Beale because the longevity and just your career as a whole, and to have known you as long as I've known you has been special. But for you personally, what do you feel is the Coach Winfred Beale legacy for you, or what is the legacy in your opinion?
I hope the legacy is that, I tried to treat everybody fairly and make each person feel like they were wanted and needed, that everybody needs everybody else all the time, that, I'm more of a players coach than an X and O's coach.
So I guess how many calls, texts, emails you've gotten since this kind of come out? 'Cause it seems like even right now your phone is blowing up even now.
Oh yeah, I apologize to you
No,
for
no, it's
that.
okay. That's all right. I
Uh,
mean,
um,
everybody deserves that. Yeah.
um, it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know. It's just every time you look, there's another notification for something, and like you said, for us old dinosaurs, it's hard to keep up with all this technology.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, I want to say personally, I've said this before, but I don't mind saying it. You have been an inspiration to me. You've been an inspiration to so many others out there. You've been a true blessing to the community, to the world of not only high school sports and high school athletics, but just in general. Yeah, I love you to death. I look at you as a father figure, and if I could be half the man that you are, I think I've had a pretty good life. So I want to thank you for inviting me into your program, inviting me into your world, and you're such a blessing. And God bless you. And good luck in the future. And I am always here for you, sir.
Well, the feeling is mutual, and I'm not just saying that. I thank you for what you do for local high school athletics, not just football. You guys and all these stations mean the world to the athletes and the communities. And while you got me on here, I just want to thank Floyd County for what they've done and allowed me to do for the past 50 years, as well as the surrounding communities, whether it's Roanoke Valley, New River Valley, that I've developed so many friendships, not just in Floyd, but at other schools. And um, I will definitely miss the relationships. That's going to be the hard part of not seeing some of these folks on a day-to-day basis.
Well, Coach, God bless you and thank you for your time and good luck.
Thank you, sir. Most appreciative.
All righty.